The US had one of its craziest weeks in geopolitical developments in quite some time. It's like deja vu 2003, where we get involved in a foreign conflict over non existent WMDs. Trump launched strategic strikes against Iranian nuclear sites, and now all the career politicians and pundits who are going to profit off of this conflict are warmongering. But let's take a step back and understand where this conflict comes from. And why do Iranians have a gripe or a perceived gripe against the US? Where are Iranian hostilities rooted? When did this start? Now, I'm not supporting or condoning or justifying any of Iran's previous actions or the actions that they're going to conduct, but I'm here to provide a little bit of historical context as to why the Iranians might be upset with the US. Back in the 20s and 30s, the Brits had complete control over Iranian oil after discovering it early in the century. And now the company is called BP. Then the Iranians had a democratically elected prime minister who wanted to take this control away from the British. And in 1951, he nationalized the oil in Iran. The US and Britain were not happy about this. The Brits lost their oil revenue, and the US were concerned that Iran would lean towards Russia. In post-World War II, the US did not want to see Iran and all of its oil fall into the hands of the Russians. They considered a free, democratically elected Iran with a lot of oil as a strategic defense liability. The CIA, along with MI6, orchestrated a coup in Iran called Operation Ajax. The stated goal was to topple the prime minister and reinstill the Shah. Operation Ajax was headed by Kermit Roosevelt, the grandson of Theodore Roosevelt. What Kermit Roosevelt did to topple the Iranian prime minister, he secured the support from many Iranian generals by getting them on the payroll. He organized and paid individuals from rural areas in Iran and bussed them into the capital of Tehran and had them protest against the prime minister. These anti-government protests continued, became violent, and eventually the prime minister stepped down and the Shah was reinstated by Kermit Roosevelt and the MI6. It was the first coup that the CIA was successful in, and then they would repeat this process throughout Latin America and the Middle East. The Shah ran Iran to 1979. The British got control over their oil. The US got to keep Iran out of the Russian hands. The Shah ruled with a heavy hand. He brutalized, imprisoned, and tortured anyone who got in his way. Obviously, this fomented a bunch of individuals in Iran who were really upset with the West for toppling their government and stealing their oil revenue. So in 1979, many organized and toppled the Shah. They renationalized their oil and secured the revenue for their country and got it out of the hands of the British. Of course, the West did not like this and responded with crippling sanctions in the 80s. They restricted their oil exports and imports, massively reduced their ability to economically trade with other countries, froze billions of dollars worth of their assets. Therefore, the regime as well as the individuals saw America as kind of having their boot on their neck and slowly started to hate America. Then in the 80s, when the Iranians had a war with Iraq, guess who supported Saddam? The US. And also in 95, they slapped more sanctions on them, and periodically they would assassinate high-ranking officials, as well as sabotaging any efforts of them getting involved in the global economy. It's a classic tale of foreign meddling and resource control over a nation that they wanted to keep out of the hands of the Soviets during the Cold War. And since 1979, the US had a massive buildup of military bases and military installations all around the bordering countries of Iran. So they've constricted them, fortified the region around them, and tried to cut them off from the world. Now imagine as an American if China were to do any of this. Imagine if the Chinese tried to topple our government and then were successful in doing so, took our oil resources, then built military bases all around Mexico and Canada, then slapped us with sanctions and tried to isolate us and cut us off from global trade, and then sabotaged our ability to build our military and our technology in any way. I think a lot of Americans would be chanting death to China.